I think if I remember right, when we came out, we were tipped a little bit. Cherry berry, these things move so hard. Remember, when it goes down, it goes forward too. For a little point here. This is where it's always more helpful to have two people on the tighter engines. This one we should be okay. We'll get it down close and then we'll shuffle it around where we need it. Right there is pretty close. Just back up off that bell housing. Alright. This is where it gets kind of tough because you got to move the cherry picker here. You don't want to cause any damage. You got to move the front of it. These things never roll easy. Well, at least on my concrete floor because it's so rough. This one keep coming down. Let's see, we were tight on the radiator coming out, right? Is that what it was? We'll run this AC line on the elevator. Clear. Looks like we need to come in just a smidge. We're past our, I need to get a flashlight, we're past our CV shaft. Lots of room back there now. Shoot, my engine's still going down. Rookie mistake. So what we need to do is we need to line up our dowel pins. You never want to put the bolts in it and force it together. This is where we might need to get a strap to rotate the engine. If we can't just pick it up by hand and get it lined up. Like that's one dowel pin, but we need to get some more force over on it in this direction to kind of hold us if we can. Alright, let's see if we can do this again. Pick the engine up by hand and line one up. There's that one. Now we're going to have to give a little assistance here. Pretty sure. Let's bring it in a smidge. One dowel pin, I'm going to take and let it down just a bit. Find it. There. There's that one. The problem is, I still need to come in some. See, I don't know, you guys probably can't see, but that one right where it needs to be. Hold that by hand, you gotta come down a bit. Now it ain't gonna rotate. Unfortunately. You gotta be careful. If you're just in one dowel pin, don't do anything silly. No, I better dowel pin. This side is stuck in a different hole. It is. Oh, baby. Our dowel pin was stuck in the hole right next to it. There she goes. Let down just a little more. That's fine. There's that one. Get in there. There's that one. I'll hold a little tension over on this. Stick a dog housing bolt in there. Like I said, never ever force these two together. You gotta make sure you close the gap all the way, by hand. And then you're good. So there's another bell housing bolt in it. So what I was struggling with, in case you didn't, understand, is the rotation of the engine. So because we picked it up straight, you guys seen that when we took it out. When we put it in, you get this dowel pin lined up, you still have to rotate it to get it in the other one. So that's what I was fooling with. And like I say, we could have taken a strap, like from here up to here to kind of rotate it. But these engines, you kind of hold. I was holding it in by hand right here on the tranny, and then manipulating it around. So like I said, it's usually a lot easier with two people. If I was going to struggle with it a lot, I'd go get Josh or Vanessa or somebody to help me. So this engine is pretty small and pretty light, but it is super important that when you're doing these, when you mate the two halves together, like I say, if your torque converter had popped out a little bit and you're trying to put this together and you forced it and you put bolts in it to draw it together, you're either gonna, you're gonna break the pump in the transmission, or you're gonna bend the flywheel. Something bad's gonna happen. If you can't slide these two halves together all the way tight, then there's something wrong. So just stop and pull apart, walk away, do something, but don't force them. It'd be a horrible mistake. So I think now that I've got those started, I can see the bell housing all the way down is perfectly tight. What we'll do is we'll just lightly snug these two up, and then we'll put our motor mount back on. That way we can get rid of our engine hoist here. So we'll leave those like that. Now we'll get our engine mount. Now the two halves are mated here. Put that on, set it back down. We could put our belt tensioner in too. That way we don't have to do that job twice. So like I say, we'll take and we'll slap this pig on there. Because we had to jack the engine up to get this off, if you remember right. If I remember right. I always get distracted. Ah. You don't have this up there? It seems like we had more room. There we go. What did we did? We did it before with the jack stand or something, didn't we? I think. Yeah. Looks like we got lots of room now. So like I say, might better just put it on. That way we can just bolt our bolt our engine mount back on. There's lots of room. So get this tightened out. We can throw, let's see, can we put our belt? No, we can't put our serpentine belt on yet because the power steering, which we determined we could get from underneath, just as easy. So we'll get this done. And before we bolt anything back on up top, we'll go down underneath and make sure all of our torque converter bolts line up, and you know, I mean, which shouldn't be an issue. We'll get that done. We'll get all our underneath work done, and then come back up here and take care of stuff. So we've got our motor mount here. Must be the other bolts over in our bolt tray. So this is about as simple as they come engine-wise to remove. I think the only ones easier probably are like the Chevy Cavaliers and Cobalts and those little Ecotech junkers. They're always snapping time and chains, so you know, them engines again are also relatively inexpensive. Okay, we've got our little box of goodies there, all of our bolts. Start letting this down. Get it where we can still, you know, manipulate it a smidge. Well, these should line right up right nice. We had the one that had a little bit of the nasty threads on it. That went up on the very top. That was the hole that was exposed all the way through the inner fender. They're kind of started to let it down all the way. There we go. Now the first thing we gotta do underneath here is get our axle in. Which will be the smartest thing to do. Shouldn't be too hard. Get her lined up. Come on, baby. There she goes. Axle's in. We'll get our ball joint back on over here. We'll get that snugged up. And now we don't have to worry about it drizzling on us anymore. Made kind of a mess, of course we caught. I'm thinking that's really not the color of transmission fluid, but anyhow. We caught most of it in a bucket, but did make a little bit of a mess on the floor, so we probably lost about a quarter. So looking at the training fluid, it probably wouldn't hurt to just pop the plug out of it and drain the rest of it for this guy. Just a spill and fill on these things. So the next thing we're going to do, so we don't forget, is we're going to line up our torque converter bolts. Vanessa, will you hand me, is there a screwdriver up there? No, will you hand me a little flathead? We're going to reach through there with a little screwdriver and rotate our torque converter. Thanks. And line up our X mark, which is right there. Now we're going to put a little blue Loctite on these. Got to put them in. Don't tighten it right up because you'll get to the next hole and it won't be lined up. So you're going to end up going around 2 times with these. You put it in, leave it just a little bit loose because there's going to be a little bit of slack in the flywheel hole back and forth. And if you tighten it up, you'll never get your next one lined up. But the other thing I would say is tighten it up enough on the first one to pull the torque converter, you know, into the back of the crankshaft so it pilots. Because otherwise what will happen is if you just put this in, let's say you just put it in and you left it just, you know, like really, like you only put it in like one thread, you got all of them in, and then you get all the way around to where you're gonna start tightening it up. You tighten it up and pull it in, all of a sudden all the heads are gonna stick out on these and it's gonna hit the, or potentially could hit the back of the engine, and now it won't rotate, and it can be, turns into a big mess. So just do yourself a favor and tighten down the first one that you put in, then back it off just a little bit. I hope that makes sense. So I might get some Loctite. got it started. Let's go tighten it up here. So this is going to pull the torque converter towards the flywheel. Not by much. Just a little bit. I'm backing it back off. Okay, so I backed it off a little bit. So now it's loose, you hear it? And we're gonna rotate. Now we can see our hole is out right flush and even, real nice. So then we'll take and put the next one in. But I don't give you much room to manipulate your fingers here. Get started. Put that one in, I'm gonna back it off just a little. You just wanna make sure you still got some chuck in it. And I'm just gonna go around and repeat this process. Once all the bolts are started, then I'll go around and tighten them up. Like I say, that's where you could get yourself in trouble if you didn't draw that first one in all the way. It'll get jammed up in there on you. That may not make sense to anybody, but anybody that's done it will be like, oh yeah, I know what it means. I think Ford uses a lot of studs on their torque converters, so you won't have the same situation there. Loosen up. Nope. Back up one. Okay, there we go. Let's go around. Once you get them all in and snug them all up, I'm gonna figure out how this little guy goes back in there. Don't let it. Yeah, just make sure you get them all tight to factory specifications. Get this little plastic thing popped in there. That's it, you know, I guess I'm gonna spin the engine over a little bit, make sure that doesn't rub. Oh, I don't hear it rubbing. It just sits in there, I guess. Let's see what else can we do around here. We gotta do the power steering, exhaust, and I think we're home free, right? So we can get the exhaust up down there. I grabbed us a little anti-seize we'll throw on these bolts, even though they weren't seized previously. A viewer sent me some. They don't like me using my silver stuff, evidently. At least I think it came from a viewer. Came in an unmarked box. Usually when that happens, it's a viewer. So we'll put a little on these exhaust bolts. We'll stick them back up in there. I guess while we're right here, it wouldn't hurt to put our bell housing bolts back in. Like I said, make sure you're definitely using the right ones. You don't want to use ones that are too long, because remember we took out, you know, long ones and short ones from the side. So this one was a short one here. Another short one goes there, and then our two long ones with the washers, they went up here on the back side, just above that axle where it was hard to show you, but pretty much, you know, right in this general direction. So we'll get those started. We can get all them snugged down too. Get our exhaust tightened up here. Got that one in already. That should work. Hopefully that gasket seals up in there. Time will tell. I think we are in good shape under here. Bell housing bolts are all tight. Down here we put our plastic shield on, torque converter, got the axle back in. Yeah, bell housing bolts, yeah. Exhaust, I think all we have left to do is slap our power steering bolts back in the power steering pump. After we install it, Then we'll put the serpentine belt on before we put the inner little fender liner here back in it, or a little splash shield. And then we'll put our serpentine belt on. Yeah. I think we're done, yeah. Serpentine belt, fender liner, wheel, done ski. And we'll do everything else from up top. And we have enough hours left in the day here. We should have this thing up and running in no time flat. We'll probably fire it up real quick before we, fill it full of coolant and all that stuff. We'll dump a little oil in it, get the intake on it, wire harness, and see if it purrs before we dump it full of water. So that power steering pump, I can't show you guys what I'm doing because I'm sitting on my butt, so I can't get the camera where I need it. But it's a little tricky. Stick the, you get it wedged down in there, stick the bottom bolt in, then cam it up into the block. It's the best advice I can give you on installing a power steering pump, that is. I can give you all kinds of advice. Now I need advice on getting these nuts in there with my little meat nugget fingers. That's two, I'm out. Gotta go get more. Now we've got our power steering pump in. The other thing we can do while we're down here is pull the drain plug on it. Usually the salvage yards drain these engines. I don't know to what extent though. So we'll let it sit here and dribble if there's anything left in it. We got one drop, so nothing left in it. Doesn't smell scorched or anything, so they must do a good job draining them. Put the drain plug back in. Right here, see if I can take it. Get that off without a wrench. Oh, not a chance. No, get a filter wrench, we'll spin that off, get a new filter on it. Grab our belt. Well, that's one thing we do have to do. Remember we pulled our high side line out here. So we had a little bit of room. Tweak that back in the mount that it belongs in back here. Because we were concerned it might hit the stud on a tensioner, but that's no longer a concern. So what we will do now, take a little bit of the good stuff, we'll spray off our pulleys. I'm going to reinstall the belt. I want to make sure there's no oil or anything on our pulleys, especially the power steering and stuff that was kind of slimy back there. That way we don't contaminate this guy's new belt. We'll let that dry a bit. I'll take and throw the belt on, whatever I did with it. Who remembers how the belt goes on? That's right. You're absolutely right. The lettering is facing out so we can read it, so we'll stick it back on that direction. As soon as this brake cleaner dries on there, I'm gonna grab a blow nozzle, we'll throw that on, get that tire and little fender liner back in. And baby, we're this close right now. In case you're like me and you completely forgot how the belt went on, that is the diagram. So put that little guard back in there, zip the tire on, and that's all done. That way when we fire this hot rod up, we can take it for a little shake. Get ready to go. Take our starter, we can get that put back in there. We'll put the intake on. They go together pretty quick. I'm not going to show the entire process, just because I think we showed most of it taking it apart. You may or may not know this, but putting it back together is just the opposite of taking it apart, pretty much. For the most part. Actually, I withdraw that statement. we're pretty much out of parts. Hook my AC hose back up, and then we'll get the these other hoses, our heater hose, brake booster. Start working our wiring harness back down there. I'm feeling I'm failing on the recording of this this video here. Let's see. Is this our clamp? Yeah, that was our clamp off that lower hose, wasn't it? That was the mystery clamp we had kicking around here. So we'll get that on, tighten up the AC. I can't really see a sense in putting a charge back in it because it doesn't work. So that would seem kind of silly to me. Clamp line back up. There's that. So I went ahead and hooked up the starter wires, 2 heater core hoses, brake booster hose. Now we're going to take and run some of our wires here. So we're going to cut our zip tie that we put on our wire harness. Kind of lay that back over. We've got our fuel line here. We won't hook that up yet because I can't remember which way things got to go through here, so we'll get that done first. Everything's been kind of tied up there for a bit, so it's going to take a minute for it to relax back in its position. And we'll just go through and start hooking her up. We've got all of our injectors. Got our VTEC, whatever Toyota calls it, VVT, our variable valve timing solenoid over there. Got that wiring harness. We'll zip that down. And on as far as these wires here, we can plug in, was that a cam sensor there, I believe? We'll leave these 2 loose because these went on the studs of the intake manifold after we put the intake on, so we'll leave those loose. We can hook up our stuff here, so that's going to be, this is our crank sensor probably. I believe so, yep, that's the crank sensor came on that engine. We've got our knock sensor. We've got an oil pressure switch down here, or oil pressure sending unit, one or the other. A little clip that goes onto that. Clip that goes on our alternator. We'll plug in our compressor. We have a bracket. That's why that bolt was missing out of the valve cover. Remember that now? We had that missing bolt on that back corner. That is because it holds this wiring harness. So we'll torque that back down to factory spec. And what else we got here? Got these studs sticking up out of the center of the valve cover. Is that underneath the coil? That'll fit now, yep. Put them back on, we'll plug our coils in. Get those torqued. This must go down. This goes down to our power steering pump. It's got a little bracket right here, or a wire clip. I don't want to latch that in until we get it down where it belongs. We'll plug our coils in. Those are plugged in. We've got a couple ground wires over here. Those were the 2 bolts that we left in the head. So we got them hooked up. This is for our throttle body. We've got to move this one hose that I already put on. Not a big deal, but our wiring harness goes around like that because there's some wire clips that they got to click into. Remember, we loosened them up to get some room. Yeah, there's one more right here on top of the transmission. So So get all those on. Stick our heater hose back in. That's on. And now I think we're safe to clip the fuel line in. What we got here, this is probably, there's that. So that's going to be our oxygen sensor. That's got its own little bracket it goes into. And this is, oh, that's probably a capacitor for the ignition because that's just a single wire. What else do we have? It's probably an air intake temp sensor or something. It's something. We'll take and click our fuel line on, and we've got one of these. And these little guys right here, little safety measure. Keep that from blowing apart. What do we got there? Got a purge and probably mass airflow. Got our mystery connector. So we'll figure it out. I suppose there's no reason we can't put radiator hose on. Ah, there's our mystery connector. You guys could see it, but I couldn't. Coolant sensor or something. Looks like coolant temp sensor. Okay, we are at a good point. That was probably something like that, was it? What would you say? That would be my guess. Fabulous. Got the intake here. The it's kind of nasty. The throttle body here, electronic throttle body. That thing's pretty gross. The intake manifold here. Oh man! Holy smokes! This thing is super gross. Wait till you see this. I think. Here's part of your problem. Good thing we didn't just put this thing on and fire it up. Let me show you. Actually, we'll come right over here by our pallet, got the oil and stuff in. So this is the intake manifold. Oh boy. I think it's just like loaded right up with oil. Oh, from the old engine. Alright, so we're definitely going to have to, what I was going to say when I first started, that we're going to take the throttle body off, we're going to clean the throttle body. We're definitely going to have to clean out this intake. This thing's loaded right up with, you know, some nasty oil and stuff. It's just gross. So we'll clean out the intake, we'll clean out the throttle body, that way when we start the car up, you know, the adaptive memory and everything's going to be all reset anyways, and this will be, this way here it'll idle good, and we don't have to worry about sucking all this oil down the new engine. So I'm just going to use the same method we've used in another video, or in another video, to clean the throttle body. We'll just take and zip it off there. Impact in. Did not get a new throttle body gasket. We'll set it aside so it doesn't get all gross. But just on the throttle body, we're just going to use some seafoam like we've used before. We're going to reuse this throttle body gasket. It's got a squirrel catcher on it. And we've got to get all this oil and crap out of here to take this hose off. Let's try to get this intake flushed out. It's got a it's like that RAV4 video we did. This thing's got the got a diaper. These things will hold a tremendous amount of fluid, so take this little foam insert out. stick it back in, but we'll put it to the side for right now. Let's start working on this mess. Keep a various amount of brushes out here, or various types, I guess, rather. So pick them up like at the dollar store. You get all kinds of different brushes. And sometimes it's pretty helpful for jobs like this. We'll just start cleaning it out the best we can. That's all we can do. Go ahead. Well, at least the intake gasket they sent us was right. I put our throttle body gasket back on there, and it sticks up past the flat edge of the intake. So I'm not super concerned about that. Our throttle body, that cleaned up real nice. Let's see that one. Is in that direction? Yeah, I think that the connector was on the inside, right? If not, we'll edit this whole part out, flip it around. Nobody be none the wiser. I think that's how it was. I've been wrong before. There we go. You're gonna want to torque that right down. We gotta put our diaper back in. Oh, we didn't pay attention to me. Yeah. Not like that. Couldn't have been. Sure it was. That's exactly how it went. Not sure what it's needed for, but in the RAV4 video, we didn't put it back on because that thing was completely saturated. So now, the only thing is we might have to, I don't know if these pipes, I don't know if I oriented them correctly on where they come out of the head here. We'll find out here in about a second. There's no reason we can't put this back on. Just set it on there. Yeah, that's right. I told you guys I had that right. No doubt. Before we do that, we gotta hook up our brake booster hose. Slid back on. That's our throttle body. Our throttle body heater, because we don't want the Venturi effect icing that baby over with all the air rushing in this 1.8 liter. PCV system hooked up here. Yeah, our PCV, our EVAT. We get this intake all tightened up. I want to make sure we've got all of our hoses in the direction they're supposed to go. I don't know if that went like that or if that went underneath. We'll have to use our clues. This is the problem. I let things drag out for too many days in between. So we'll leave that like it is. Get us a clamp in. Thank you. So this one, the clamp that was on it was no good. So we'll put that little clamp on there. It was just old and crusty. So I flipped the wiring harness pieces down. I'm going to get this intake buttoned up. But I can't seem to find, I've lost something. Besides my mind. I tightened that bolt up on the alternator. Didn't we have a little gray cap that went on that? I thought we did. I thought I remember taking it off. Like back on step 9. Or somewhere thereabouts. I have to look. I usually don't lose things. Maybe no, we wouldn't have set it in the back of the car because we only set stuff back there when we originally diagnosed it. Didn't know if we were going to get the job or not. So we'll have to see if we can find that somewhere. It's a mass airflow engine, so we have to have the mass airflow hooked up in order to start the engine. So we'll take it, put this right back in there. Oh, we gotta remember to hook up our ground wires. Well, that would be bad news. We don't want to do anything foolish like that. Where's my torque wrench? Oh, there it is. Once you get that torque down, stick that there. We better do this right now because we don't want to forget this. That would be bad. Bad grounds can cause bad problems. There. Those are all in. We've got to use our clues a little bit how things come back together. Let's see. Bracket here for the mass airflow sensor connector. Click that in. There's one wire clip down here that we took out, it appears. Click that back in position. If I remember right, our purge solenoid, that's right, clicked into this little guy. Let's see if we can get our air hose hooked up. Throttle body. And on that. Well, that's junk. Come on. Goofed up my clamp. Ah, I dropped my torque wrench. You grab the torque wrench here again. Get that where it needs to be. There we go. Now we're on the right track. The tension is building here. Point where we're going to start this junkyard engine. And that is a roll of dice. Is it going to run? Now we'll slide our evac purge right back down in the little hole there. There. Well, look at that. It's all hooked up. What do we have here? Oh, great. We got a mystery wire, Hannah.
Uh-oh.
What did we miss? Let's see. What did this click into? That's the next question. Well, it goes into the fans, you fool. We ain't got no radiator fans yet. See, did you go get us a bolt?
Yep.
We broke the battery bolt taking it apart, remember? Let's see, so Hannah's went and got us a new one. Oh man, I thought it was 6 millimeter. What size is it? Yeah, 6 mil. Okay. Oh, there she goes. Fits like a glove. Put the original square washer back on that side. New nut. 1-2 barbecue, right, Hannah?
Yep.
Okay. Battery tray. Give it the beans. Oh, we probably ought to hook this hose back up. We don't want bad things happening. So we got our PCV hose hooked back on there. That'd have been a big old vacuum leak. We're gonna dump some oil in it, probably 4 quarts or so here. Like I said before, we put any coolant or radiator fans back in it. We're just gonna make sure we hear it run first. And we got no major problems. Battery slid back down in here. Where's our door? There she is. Snug that up. Beautiful. Alright, will you make sure it's in park, Hannah, the keys off before I hook this battery up? We'll hook up the negative post.
Yep.
Is it key off?
Yeah.
Okay. He does not have the right battery in this car, so it doesn't fit quite well. Alright, moment of truth. Grab me another 10mm wrench, will you, Hannah? Everybody get back. This is where it could get ugly. Alright, Hannah, hop in there and have you start it. Let's make sure. You wait, don't start it yet, Hannah.
Okay.
Hold your horses. Alright, we got oil on the stick. Just turn the key on, Hannah, don't start it. That's in the on position?
Yep.
Okay, shut it off. Okay, turn it back on. I'm not hearing prime the fuel pump. Shut the key off. Okay, turn it back on again. I'd like it to prime the fuel pump. Keys on, Hannah?
Yep.
Alright, do you see the oil pressure light, the little red genie lamp?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead and start it up. If that light doesn't go off in like 10 seconds, shut the car off.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead and crank again. Okay, shut it off. Okay, just start it up again. Sweet, sounds pretty good. Started a little bit rough there, had a little skip to it, and then it smoothed right out. You said the oil pressure light went out, right?
Yep.
Okay, sweet. And I guess I smell gas. I think this connection is leaking. The O-ring's supposed to be crappy on it. Yeah, we'll see. Sometimes they just need a little wiggle. Well, before we mess with anything, we'll take and get the radiator fans back in and get it filled up with coolant. We'll see if it warms up without blowing up. That'll be great. Getting close to the end of the day here, so I have to keep shutting the camera off. People keep stopping in. So we're putting radiator fans in. Maybe you already knew that. Filled it up with coolant. And now, I think we can just take and start it up. Let it warm up, got a hose on it. Oh man, make sure everything's white for that. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Whoa, fire now. line there. Sit and run for a while and get warmed up. It's gonna smoke a little bit, you know, it's been sitting at a shelf in the junkyard, so doesn't sound too bad. I know sometimes the camera picks up some odd noises, but sounds pretty good actually. Tune-up. Get them all started here. Hold it on, what are you gonna do? Hold it. There you go. That's good. We'll get a torque wrench. And a socket. An aftermarket hood. Well, it's a GM hood, but it's not the original. Must be she's been waxed before. You tell it's been painted, you know, it's got paint on the little rubber on it. But we're gonna put this back on the wiper hose. It's just a, you know, wiper hose connector. Remember we cut it to take it off. Just like that. Battery back in. Boom. Done. Now don't just go slamming your hood. Set her down slow. Alright, we're in good shape. If you, like this hood, the bolts are shouldered and they center in the hinges, so not a lot of, you know, room for adjustment there, but some hoods, when you unhook them, you're gonna wanna, you know, mark where the bolt head is, mark where the hood is, so when you get it back on, you get it really close to where it was, and you might have to shift it a little bit to get your body line right. Pay attention to that before you take it off too, because if the car's, you know, if it's got a gap like, you know, Pac-Man over here and it's tight on that side, you know, maybe an indicator that it's, you know, been in an accident, you know, the hood's been replaced, it's not lined up perfectly anyway, so, you know, it might be worthwhile to take some notes prior to removing it, but I didn't say that, but at this point it might be too late. So it's got 177, 696 on it. Oil change was due at, what, 163. So he's only about 10,000 overdue on the oil change. Maybe that was the cause. This engine seems to run good. We've got up full temperature. We've got good, good warm air coming out of the vents. I say we did a pretty good job. Well, viewers, that is that, I guess. There's not much more we can do, or worth doing on camera, I guess. Transmission fluid, I'll probably take care of that. That was pretty nasty. We're gonna double check our oil, make sure that's full. Finish, the rest of the service for this guy. All the other fluids, wash fluid, reduce tire pressures, and everything else that's associated with your normal oil change. That way, he's got kind of a starting point there. Particularly with the newer engine. We've got to take and get our engine cover fashioned up on here. We've got to get a couple nuts for that. Oh, you know what? We're gonna have to take our hook off. That is not gonna work. Oh, ain't that a bummer? Yeah, that hits. If it's my car, I'd keep that in the trash, but well, anyhow, we're gonna have to take the hook off. That kind of stinks. That was handy. Maybe we'll save that for another job. I probably won't. I don't ever save anything. So anyhow, we gotta take our hook off, and we gotta put our engine cover back on. We gotta get a couple nuts for that, and a couple small bolts that'll go in that valve cover. And that's pretty much it. Finish looking it over. I'll let it sit inside overnight and make sure the coolant's full in the morning. Make sure there's no leaks. It doesn't need to be potty trained or anything like that. And flush this toilet. I'm tricky. I went over to the used engine, took these two studs out of the timing chain tensioner. I think we'll screw those right here into the valve cover. Stick them in there. This way here, nobody ever has to go on the hunt for nuts and bolts and all that. Or we don't have a variety of fasteners. So got that. And then what I did while I was over there, I took 4 6mm nuts right off the timing cover. I did take our hook off. So that should fit right on there now. I'm hoping. Look at that, huh? Looks factory too. That's gonna make this thing run awesome. So drop that in there. That was sweet. Whoa. Come on, start on there, baby. Look at that. She's twice as good as when it came in. Viewers, is that there's nothing more to show on this. Like I said, I'm going to finish taking care of the rest of the service and topping off fluids and see if he wants to do this trainee service and stuff while it's here. And if so, we'll handle that. But we'll do that tomorrow, and I won't be bringing you along for that. I don't know how this video is going to turn out, or this little video series. Maybe it sucks, maybe it doesn't. But maybe a lot of you have never seen an engine swap, so hopefully you've at least found it interesting, the parts that did show that hopefully go together fluidly, but I don't know yet. Got another engine job to do out there on a Chevy pickup, the one with no oil pressure that we talked about in the Colorado video that Mrs. O came out and asked us about. Well, that thing's a piece of junk, and the motor's long past seen its time, so that'll be getting a transplant also, and the engine's supposed to be dropped off for that tomorrow. So We'll see. I don't know if I'll do that one. It'll be a little harder to record because I'll probably do it over here in what we like to refer to as death row or the Subaru bay, because that's usually where we've got our Subarus sitting with heads off them and things like that. So we'll wrap it up. So check us out on Facebook and Google Plus if you haven't done that, and you want to connect with us socially there. You can also subscribe to our channel if you want to stay up to date with all the stuff we roll out. We never know what we're going to get in, so everything from engines to a simple window regulator, blower motor, you never know. But if you want to kind of see what we're going to have, then subscribe to our channel. You'll get the notifications right to your email or to your phone or however you have that set up. And just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.